can work with nature, understand nature, look at the systems of nature, and then build our agricultural systems around that, our businesses around that, and so forth. It could also be like developing a team. So those who come and get trained there and understand the different systems and so forth, they can either educate other communities, or other communities can come here and get trained and then go back in. Of course, they'll be more independent. You can export a lot of the food, carbon negative practice, so that could actually open up carbon credits, so that's additional income. It's a new form of tourism as well. People like to see something new and new ways of doing things, so it would attract a different type of tourism as well. Repopulation of villages, so we have a lot of villages that have a lot of empty homes, a lot of people have left, there's no jobs for youth there and so forth. It'll actually start to repopulate the villages. Research and development, and long-term data gathering. There's the potential that could come from there. In general, a lot of countries in worldwide, there's a lot of green movements, there's a lot of action heading towards this, which then just supports the idea of why not do this. So you got the China Green Corridor and the Africa Green Corridor. So those are two. I mean, the China Green Corridor is going to last 100 years basically. It's already started in, I think, in the 50s or 70s, and they're actually reforesting a line of 7-kilometer wide line right across China to stop the desert from encroaching. Similar action is being done in sub-Saharan Africa with about 16 nations, I think. So these are obviously a lot of different countries and nations are actually recognise the importance of actually working with nature, and the actions are shown. EU also has development policies in this direction. 38 countries have banned GMO. That's another indicator that GMO is not the solution. And there's an older study, but basically it's also not only organic agriculture is key to feeding the world, but it's also smallholder agriculture. It's not going to come out of big farms and so forth. It's the actual smallholder farms that are actually able to feed the world in the long term. And finally, to conclude, so we have the potential as an island to create a legacy for the future generations of Cyprus, a systemic approach to resilient Cyprus that will bring together the people in the island under a common intention, and to connect the public and government in a way that will stand as a benchmark to countries worldwide. So we also have the unsettlement of the two sides. This is also just another additional benefit for us to do this, is to actually work, see that the whole island is connected together and have a common cause to bring people together. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
The government of Cyprus.
Yes.
Is in.
There is action now. They've appointed a new science director of science, I think, or something, who is looking at things in this perspective. We've also had the CEO of Climate Kick, which is the European Institute of Technology, or it's basically a governing body that's now has sub-bodies, of which Climate Launchpad is one of them. So it's all basically climate action. And she came to talk in Cyprus. They had a 2-day event, and he also was there presenting. So it seems like there's a lot of activity. They still have to feel their way through it. And Cyprus is it's an interesting case because it's not a democracy per se, and it's not a communist per se. It's sort of like a hybrid between the two. So you have a very strong party impact. So it's not like the president will say something that will happen. There are political parties that are actually having a lot of pull and push between what happens. But I think with this actually, he comes from IBM, high IBM background, so he works with, he knows what he's doing business-wise and so forth, and I think the way he's been talking, because I've heard him talk several times in different areas, it seems, for me it's hopeful that these type of actions can take hold. They just need to maybe have some guidance of how that could look, because it's not just investing in high tech or investing in, you know, something other than tourism. It's actually having to see how we can work with the environment. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
As this reminds me of a project in India,
Yeah.
Anandpur district in Andhra Pradesh. But you also said about China, but in India they've changed tactics. Instead of planting trees, they go to seeding trees, plant seeds.
Right.
Using the same trick, like you said, on a slope, make a small ditch and then plant seeds.
Yes.
And another thing you said was there's a lot of water evaporating from these huge tanks, the water behind the dams.
Right.
But you thought about making floating solar panels.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I've seen them. Japan has them, and some other countries. But I don't know, because when we're interacting with an ecosystem, I don't know what the impact will be. Will it increase or will it decrease the fish populations because there's less light going down, there's less, you know, biological life underneath it?
Depends. They've done it on a few in a few places in Holland, where they've looked at the effect on the biosystem.
Yes.
That means you don't fully cover the
Correct.
area.
Right.
There's openings in between and the light.
Then I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. If you have it, if you have that, it's almost like the multi-cropping, the solar panels with the crop, right?
There's a project just 15 kilometers from here.
Okay, brilliant.
Solar panels on the
Yeah,
wall.
because the ones I saw were just completely covering,
No, that
and it
doesn't
just,
work.
to me, it's like, no, I don't think so.
You easily can turn the solar panels on the sun.
Right, that's even better.
It's really easy,
Right.
easy to turn.
And if you can also have aerators there, so you can actually keep oxygen going underneath. You know, simple systems from there. So yeah, I think that's great. The planting. So basically, another initiative that we have. There's a few different parties in Cyprus. You know, there's a lot of. You may have heard on the internet. You know, India has the world record of planting so many million trees in 24 hours and so forth. So in Cyprus, they have now an initiative in the Nicosia district, which is quite large, because you have, I think it's 5 districts. Let's go back to a picture of Cyprus somewhere. So the Nicosia district is basically sort of like that, It's quite big. It comes actually into the mountain area, and then you have the Limassol, which is basically a city here. Its district is this big, and then you have the Paphos district here, and then Lahi here. So there are initiatives like in this district here, 300,000 trees they want to plant, right? And then there's I think 100,000 trees. There's someone else started one initiative there. So those actually, I met with them just before coming here, and it seems like there's a lot of people on board. You've got the forestry department, you've got the municipality of Nicosia on board. There's a lot of initiative that they are all having a common goal, which is great to see. I think, and I saw some videos recently. They've already started, but again, unless you're using something like, there we go, something like this, and you know, when you're planting it in a city, have them create a place where the runoff is actually going in there. If it's just having the same, you know, all they do is take away some pavement and then dig there, you're losing the opportunities. There needs to be sort of like someone showing that it could be done differently, so that when there is a flood, it's not just all going down in the drain, but actually going and functioning differently. So it's not just planting; it's the way you plant. And also on the side of the mountain, let's say, having those, like they did in Slovenia, having those catchment areas. Yeah. So as they go outside of the city, let's say, they can be doing that as well. So when they plant, so it's
that's what they did in India.
right. Yeah.
It's an amazing. First time I was there was 1990.
Yeah.
And there's an amazing change in the area, how green it's become since.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just catching water.
exactly. And again, we're going back to the water cycle. We're going back to the soil. How do these systems and subsystems function? So if we work with that, then it works. It doesn't take too much energy. Any other questions?
Just wondering, yes, great presentations, thank you for that. A lot of things you're thinking about and very broad-minded.
Yeah, thank you.
But what is the priority of you or the people from Cyprus? Because there are so many things which still have to be done.
Correct.
Is there a certain sequence you're thinking about, and is there any awareness from the local people, or is it only a few guys like you who are pushing it?
Well, I think, okay, basically, government-wise, slowly they're going to start getting aware, partially because everyone else is getting aware and they're not doing that, and they're going to international meetings and so forth, so they're actually getting more aware of it. You have now a lot more private initiatives that are like the 3,000 trees in Nicosia that are actually pushing toward these things. So I think on a small micro scale, yeah, there's more activity happening. Also involved with another team, which is for the green roofs. So that again, you're combining those two. That's already going to have a good impact with, let's say, within the city.
Yeah.
But I think if you really want to make change, I mean, if they have a vision where let's look at how we can do this differently, and for our future generations, because we're borrowing the island from the future, right? From our future generations. If we keep paying for tilling, which is what's happening, EU funds are actually paying farmers to till land, which is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
And they're actually going beyond their own farming area, but they're going to wherever they can, which is going into nature reserves and stuff. Yeah, they need to be somewhat educated, or the law needs to come in and say, okay, you have to, show us which area you're going to till, and then we will give you the permission to till there, and then you have to prove afterwards through satellite imagery, which they do anyway, what you've tilled. But if it's just like the Wild West, okay, show me what you tilled. We don't know where it is. We don't know if it's someone else's land. We don't know if it's a nature reserve or anything, and we'll calculate how much that is, and the EU funds will pay for that. So unfortunately, there's a lot of that going on, and that's having actually a detrimental effect on the natural environment there. So I think you got two things happening, but because we've got a powerful social media and some good people in government as well, I'm hoping there's going to be much more activity in the near future toward this type of activity.
But there are no, what you were saying, there are goals from Europe, of course, to reduce certain emissions and a lot of things.
Yeah.
But you were saying at the start, I think, that Cyprus was not really acting on that.
No, at the moment they're paying fines for not being online with the promises, and okay, so there is another aspect to here. We've found natural gas. This was, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. We're all jumping up and down saying, "Oh, we've got natural gas. We're going to be the sheikhs of the Mediterranean or whatever." We don't know. The natural gas is still a big question mark. There's a lot of exploration going on, but by the time, first of all, I don't think they know 100% that they can actually access and safely bring it out, and if it's cost effective. And also, it could be 10 years from now, it could be 20 years from now. We don't know. We don't know. It's just a nice subject to have, and a lot of people are involved in having, the French drilling and all the rest of it. But it's not something that we don't know actually how much it will benefit our economy. It will give it some benefit, but where will that end? Will it end up in a government level, and then for those few who can access it, or will it trickle down into to the person, you know? And usually, yeah, exactly. And usually, is it going to be funded? Are those additional funds going to go channeled towards something that's useful and for the future of the island, or is it just going to go through a nice new project or a new university or something that, you know, looks good? When we have the most expensive casino in Europe that's being built, the most expensive. This is like, okay, what's the point? Why does it have to have the most expensive, luxurious stuff on there? So, yeah, that's. But there is on Paphos this side. Let's see, this area of Paphos here. There is a lot of like startup activity, and they want to build out. I think they actually want to build into the sea, like a small peninsula with a green city, and you know, a lot of good systems and stuff. Okay. Massive investment. Why do we need to do that? All this land, and why not just, you know? So it's like we have to invent something new instead of actually using.
Done it in where is that? Dubai.
Dubai, yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. So it's
Actually,
not
the Dutch
novel.
have a really good company who can build it. So.
Yeah.
You have some references to do that.
Yeah.
We'll make you an offer.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's not something I'm involved with, but brilliant. Any other questions or comments or anything?
Yes, for the topsoil, you
Yeah.
said wind blows away.
Yeah.
We've got the same problem in the northern part of Holland.
Yes.
After they changed the agricultural system into large, almost empty fields,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in
Monocropping.
spring.
Yeah.
But it's not so much monocropping, because by the time crop grows on it,
Yeah.
the wind can't blow away the topsoil.
Right.
But they found planting small hedges in quite a few places
Yes.
also helped to break the wind.
Yes. You actually want to.
Anything like that?
Yeah. So, ideally, if you want to break the wind, you don't want to plant too tall. So a hedge is good,
Yeah.
and usually a different height.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a tree every now and then, and so forth. So what you're doing is, if it's too tall, the wind's actually going to create turbulence and come back down and create turbulent effect over it, and that's still going to pick up. Whereas if you have it broken up, it sort of like allows the flow to go through, but it's not the fast flow. It actually just goes, you know, and settles through it. So yeah, the bushes is good, I think. Would help maybe if it's different heights and so forth, but that's a very good idea, I would think.
Roberto, I need to ask you. My wife, she will be messing me up if I don't come home.
All right, can't have that happen. Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.